I'm selling my home and want to be present for buyer's inspection. Agent says I'm not supposed to be. Is that true with it being my home? I'm worried she's trying to take advantage. It's true. In the past it was common for buyer and seller to meet and both be present at inspections. But in modern day, real estate agents go out of their way to make sure the buyer and seller never meet until potentially after the sale is complete. They are not trying to pull any funny business. There's legitimate liability issues that pushed the industry in this direction. It also helps to avoid deals falling apart because the buyer and seller get into an argument, etc. I was considering buying a house, met my inspector there. The owner showed up out of the blue and immediately it was awkward. I felt like I couldn't speak freely with the inspector and the owner was prying, explaining away serious issues. I did not buy the house. I had an owner bribe my inspector right as we were coming in. There is a reason for this. You don't want to be there. If you learn everything the inspector finds, you have to disclose those issues to any future buyer should this sale fall through. You've hired a professional who is obligated to put your interests first. Trust them. If I was a buyer and the seller insisted on being there, I would assume that the seller is trying to hide something about the house from me. Our sellers were there. Took everything the inspector said personally. Offended at everything. Were vocal about his feedback and how they knew better. It wasn't good. If you don't trust your agent, they shouldn't be your agent. In this case though, they are giving you solid advice. You being present will potentially compromise any faith the buyer has in that inspection with your ass hovering over everything. They don't want your commentary, and this is a part of the process where they are using their inspector to protect their interests. You've got no business being involved in that regardless of it being your house or not. It's standard practice for the seller to not be present, but there's no rules or laws about it unless you've signed something saying otherwise. In general, it's a bad idea for you to be there, with a few very narrow exceptions. Remember that from the buyer's perspective, the inspector is their expert advocate to make sure they are getting what they are paying for. I'm sure it won't take much imagination to see how a seller could really get in the way of that process, even without malicious intentions. From a personal example, a house I purchased a while back had a design flaw in the heating system where it might freeze over in really cold temperatures, just when you need the heating system the most. I was able to have a candid conversation with the inspector about how serious the problem was, partly because I knew I could fix it myself with some guidance from a relative who was an HVAC technician. But the seller didn't know I could fix it, and I didn't want them to know that. After all, they were probably intentionally trying to hide that from me since I was buying in the summer. I was able to negotiate a small but still notable discount on the price because of it. But I would never have been able to negotiate that discount if the buyer was aware that I know a guy who knows a guy. That's none of their damn business. That's just one example, but see what I mean. The seller of my house was here every damn time we looked at the house, and refused to leave for the inspection even though my agent assured me he would be gone. He sat on the couch and argued with the inspector a few times, who then threatened to cease the inspection and leave. He was a single older guy, wife recently died, so we were sympathetic, but the whole process was way too personal. How would they take advantage? You either accept or reject the requested fixes improvements. It's in everyone's best interest for you to not be there. This is standard protocol. It would be really weird if you were there. Selling agents never want the seller and purchaser to meet. Reason being that it can queer a deal in a heartbeat. Don't do it. You don't need to be there since it should be impartial. Yes, so the owner doesn't interfere with the inspection. No, you're not supposed to be there. It's in part to prevent you from taking advantage. Yep, I wouldn't want the seller there to argue about stuff. You will scare off buyers if they know the owner is there. They will also be walking through commenting very critically on every awful design decision you made with your heart. Let the agent do their job. You're not meant to be there, no. That's weird and will put someone off. Don't do that. It's true. When the seller is present, shit goes south. I've had listing agents meet us at inspection. We kindly asked them to wait outside and they obliged. That is the buyer's time to do their due diligence. If the buyers happen to request repairs later, then that's their right. However, you also have the right to deny those requests, but they may walk based off your refusal.